Dave never thought he had to resort to something this drastic. Invading someone's privacy went against his morals, but he didn't trust his wife anymore. Not after the way she treated him. They always had an amazing relationship, but things had turned for the worse lately. But what Dave sees on the camera changes his life forever. Dave grew more and more suspicious of his wife, Noah's behavior. She had been so loving towards him for most of their relationship, but now she started to act differently. Dave would have never guessed the reason why. He had gone to extreme lengths to spy on his wife. Dave had hung security cameras through the house without his wife's knowledge, but he didn't fully support his own decision, so he had put off looking at the cameras until his wife did this. Noah had lied to Dave. She had bought her car behind his back so she could travel to work independently. But Dave knew that wasn't the real reason. He couldn't take all the suspicion anymore, so he looked at the camera footage. But what will Dave see in the footage? And why did Noah feel like she had to lie to Dave? Dave and his wife, Noah, have been together for 5 years. They met at a work convention and instantly clicked. They got married after only 3 months of dating, but it felt right to them. But Dave would have never expected his marriage to go like this. Noah works as an accountant at the same law firm as Dave. They travel to work together, eat lunch together, and travel home together. Not many people could handle seeing their spouse in a work environment and at home, but Dave and Noah loved it, at least for now. Dave and Noah plan fun date nights on the weekends. They go to dinner, the movies, or even skating together. Every weekend, one of them would take responsibility for planning something. Dave had already planned everything for the upcoming weekend, and it was only Monday. The reason why Dave had already planned everything was that he had to go on a short work trip tomorrow. It would only be 2 nights, from Tuesday until Thursday, but he wanted to plan everything in advance. He knew that was necessary because he didn't want distractions during work. But it didn't go as he planned. During his work trip, Dave got a strange phone call. It was from an unknown number. He normally ignores those calls, but he got a strange feeling about this one. No one didn't respond to his texts at the normal speed he usually does, and Dave wondered if something could be wrong. But it wasn't a normal call when he picked up the phone. He waited for someone to start talking, but it stayed quiet. He heard something in the distance but couldn't determine what it was. He hung up the call, thinking it was probably a butt dial. But it happened 3 more times that night. Dave decided to call Noah and got an unexpected response. She picked up the phone as if nothing was wrong. She didn't respond angrily or confused. Dave thought that he probably imagined it, so he didn't think much of it from then. But deep down, he knew that something was off. Luckily, his work trip was over soon. He came home, and they went on to have an amazing weekend together. But Dave couldn't forget about the strange calls. They had stopped after he called Noah, and he couldn't shake the feeling of the two being connected. And there was more to be suspicious about for Dave. And during their weekend together, Noah started to act a little distant. She had to walk away a few times to answer a phone call, which she normally never did. It wasn't much, but Dave did notice it. He could not let go of the feeling that something was off. But why didn't Noah share it with Dave? When he asked Noah about it, she said that she was planning a surprise for him. Dave was surprised but didn't want to pry. He wasn't sure why he felt the way he felt. But he wanted to trust his wife. After all, she had never done anything to lose his trust. They had been happy together for years now. So he decided he wouldn't ask her any more about the situation. They enjoyed the rest of the weekend together and were getting ready to start work tomorrow when she delivered some strange news. Dave wished he had followed his gut instead of using his head. Noah told Dave that she was taking some time off from work. She said she wanted to focus on herself and go to a spa to relax and meditate. Dave looked at his wife with a confused look, and before he could say anything, her attitude changed for the worst. Dave had not seen this coming at all. She started acting angry toward Dave, telling him that she needed some time for herself, but that it had nothing to do with him. She gave a lot of mixed signals, but Dave felt like she wanted to make sure Dave didn't feel put to the side. Dave embraced his wife and told her it was all right. She had every right to take some time off. He hid his true feelings about the situation because he didn't want to upset his wife even more, but it wouldn't take long for them to come out. Monday came, and Dave went to work on his own. Noah had packed her bag and went out the door at the same time. She took a cab to the spa so Dave could take the car. He felt unsure about his wife being all alone for 3 days. What if she left him? It could be a possibility, given how angry she became the other day. When Dave came home, the house felt eerily empty. He wasn't used to being alone and cooking for himself, so he ordered food instead. He kept going over the recent changes in his wife's behavior. Had it something to do with him? Dave had to know, so he came up with a plan. He didn't want to be that guy, but he felt like he needed to be sure of his wife being honest with him. Dave had a friend who worked as a security guard, and he lent him a few cameras. The only thing Dave had to do was hide them so his wife wouldn't notice them. Dave took the next day off work to install everything. Noah would be home tomorrow from her getaway to the spa. He wanted everything to be installed in time. Dave was able to see almost everything in the house on his phone, and now the waiting game has begun. Noah came home from the spa the next day, and she didn't look any different. Of course, the spa doesn't change how you look, but Dave expected to see a well-rested Noah, and she was the opposite. She looked stressed and not interested in Dave at all. She walked through the door and gave Dave a kiss. Dave asked about her time at the spa and if she was well-rested, but she answered shortly. When he tried to ask her more about it, she snapped at him and went upstairs. Maybe his feelings were right after all. Dave didn't know what to do next. He obviously did not want to upset Noah any further with his thoughts. Maybe he needed to give Noah some time, but his own thoughts became more of an enemy as time progressed. He struggled to trust Noah now. He knew there had to be something going on. Their relationship had always been good up until she went away for a few days. Dave's mistrust became even worse when he noticed something strange on Noah's phone. She got a text with just a time and a location with nothing else. The person who texted her was named Mr. X in her contacts, which just seemed weird to Dave. Was she having an affair? Dave felt he had to take the matter into his own hands. Dave decided that he needed to follow Noah to her appointment to find out who this person was. Maybe he could catch Noah and her new lover red-handed. But he needed to be careful, as he did not want to be caught out in the process. After following her car for half an hour, he arrived at the place they were about to meet. It was a strange place. It was an abandoned building in the suburbs of the city. Why did Noah want to meet someone here? It wasn't exactly a place for a romantic encounter. After a few minutes of waiting, the other person arrived. It was a tall man in a suit, but Dave didn't recognize him. The conversation they had seemed really weird. The man in the suit looked like he wanted to make some things very clear. When he was done with his monologue, Noah seemed shell-shocked. Noah and the man split up immediately after this. Noah looked distraught. What did the man tell her exactly? Dave wanted to walk up to her and comfort her, but he knew that wasn't right. He decided to do what felt best for him. He decided to follow the man in the suit. He wanted to know who that man was. He stepped into his car and quickly followed him into the city, where he went into a big building where lots of big companies were based. Dave wanted to know the whole story. Dave wanted to approach this man, but the man was already lost in the immense building. What now? Dave couldn't help that he wanted to know the truth, so he came up with something better. He only needed his memory for this. He needed to recollect the license plate of this guy. With that information, he could figure out who this guy was and maybe help Noah with everything she seemed to struggle with. Luckily, Dave recollected the license plate fairly quick. All he had to do now was go home and look for information. On the way home, Dave started to doubt everything. What if this man was a criminal? Maybe Noah was in danger. It could be better to just ask Noah about everything. But he did not want to scare her off. Maybe she would find him overprotective and weird. As soon as Dave came home, he started his research. Noah wasn't home yet, so he had all the freedom to find this guy. It didn't take long to find the owner of the license plate, but the owner really shocked him. Apparently, the car was stolen. It had been stolen years ago and was never found back. But what had Noah to do with a guy who stole cars for a living? They had never been in trouble financially, and the relationship she and that man had didn't seem very romantic. Dave went to the only person that could help him. He went to the police to explain the situation. Surely they could help him. Dave explained everything he saw and did after he realized what had been going on. But he didn't get the answer he was hoping for. The police did not want to help him. They hadn't heard any concluding evidence except for the stolen car. According to their system, the car wasn't stolen, so Dave's information was wrong. Dave was livid. What now? He had to make a difficult choice. While heading home from the police station, his thoughts got the better of him. Dave parked his car next to the street and started to cry. What was going on? How had he lost his wonderful girlfriend to a potential criminal? He knew he had to talk about it with Noah. When he restarted his car again, he started to prepare the conversation. He wanted to express his concerns, but at the same time, he wanted to comfort her and tell her everything was going to be fine. But what if she had other thoughts? Dave hadn't thought about that until now. Maybe she wanted to break up with him, but he did not know that yet. He had to go home now to confront her. It took him way shorter than normal to get home, as he drove as fast as he could. When Dave arrived home, Noah was already waiting on the couch. Dave came home and immediately confronted Noah about her encounter with this man. Noah seemed mainly surprised by this. How did he know about this? She got angry. Why did he follow her? What had she done that he mistrusted her so much? Dave didn't get any answers. In fact, Noah snapped again and then walked upstairs with the door of their bedroom locked. She wanted to be alone for now. Dave couldn't believe that all this was happening. But he knew he had one thing left that he could do. Although it did not feel exactly right, he knew he still had the cameras in their house. At first, he did not want to check the footage, but he had to check it now. This was the only way to get some answers, so he went to his laptop to check the footage. Dave logged into his laptop and checked the footage from the last few weeks to see if he would find something strange. And then he encountered footage that would make him stumble only a few words. "I can't believe this," he said. It was another strange call, supposedly the same man as that he had seen with her in that strange building. At first, he could not figure out what they were talking about, but when seeing the footage of the next day, it all made sense. There he saw something that he couldn't believe. He saw Noah looking at a pregnancy test and crying. Dave was stunned, but was he the father? He still didn't know whether she had an affair with this man or not. He ran upstairs to ask Noah straight away. When Dave asked Noah about the pregnancy test, she seemed relieved but crying at the same time. She admitted that she was pregnant and that it was from Dave. Dave and Noah were over the moon, but one question remained. Who was that guy? Noah answered it straight away. Apparently, she wanted to surprise Dave with a surprise party to announce that she was pregnant. He was the guy that arranged everything, but it had to be a secret. Therefore, they met in strange places, like the building or in the spa. Dave understood and immediately apologized for his behavior. The apologies were accepted by Noah, and they lived happily ever after.